All right, so here we are. We're in front of our new next-gen Liberty appliance. And this has all of our latest and greatest technology. What we're gonna do with this video is we're gonna show you guys how to build a fire. So let's get started on this stove. Okay, so here we are in front of our stove. We're gonna put our wood in here. What I like to do is I like to start with a couple of what I'll call medium-sized pieces. And this is a Liberty. I mean, look how big this firebox is. You know, I've got a 14-inch piece of wood here. I can put it this way, this way. I like to put it this direction. And the reason why is because my primary air control is right here in the middle in the front. So if I put it this way, and then I run my kindling across, I now get a nice column of air that's going to run back through the stove. So now I've got my kindling. We're going to take this, put this here across the middle. And then stack some more pieces on top of it on this medium size. And then we've got our fire starter. Any fire starter works. You know, you can use this, you can use fat wood, anything like that. These smaller pieces like this work really well. Put your wood in there. Maybe gonna add one more piece of medium-sized wood right across here. And so we're not putting any of the large wood in there yet. Now, you can use a match. You can use a little bit of crumpled up newspaper. You can use your green start igniter. I've got a nice little torch right here, which works really well for me. So I can start the fire. Okay, so bypass. It's over here on the side. I've got it open. My air control is pulled out, it's open. So now I can close my door, make sure my ash pan is closed, and watch the fire go. All right, so here we are. Obviously, we did a little bit of time lapse there, so you know we sped things up a little bit. I added some more wood as we were going, but basically I've now filled the firebox up. It's a Liberty, so it's a really large firebox. What we're trying to do right now is we have our fire burning, and we're trying to create that first coal bed. Let it burn down, create your coal bed, and now that's the foundation for having a nice, good stove. The other thing that you'll notice, I believe you can see it in the picture, is over here on the side, my bypass is still open. So during this whole time, while I'm running my first load of wood through here and creating that coal bed, my bypass is open. Now, as this starts to burn down a little bit, maybe about 50% down from where it is now, you might go ahead and close the bypass. But basically, you want it to burn almost like a high burn during that whole first fire. That's like during the first maybe hour or so that the stove is in operation, just to create that coal bed so the stove has a good foundation of heat to keep your draft going and to keep everything running well on the inside. So I suppose if there's one point I'd like to teach you guys, it's about creating that coal bed. All right, so here we are on the Liberty. We've got a good coal bed established. We've got some more wood in here. You can really see some good action happening inside the fireplace. So there's a lot of fire that's up above the logs. That's your secondary combustion. But if you really want to see the air tubes fire off, let's close the air control. So now the fire, which is nice and hot, has to get all of its air, or at least a good portion of its air from the air tubes. Now look at what's happening. Now you see a whole lot of fire coming in from the top of the stove, where you're getting some fresh air that's mixing with all the gases coming off the wood, which are combustible, and you're getting this just wonderful heat. 60% of the heat that you get off of wood is coming from secondary combustion, which is why these stoves run so hot and so efficiently. Wow, isn't that amazing? Looks awesome. You know, we always hear about two questions that we hear from customers. The two questions are, my stove isn't getting hot enough, or I don't have very good burn time out of it. Both of those things can be solved by having a good coal bed. If they have a good coal bed, obviously the stove is hot enough, right? It's over 500 degrees, and so things are really burning well in there. Not burning long enough, right? So they try to do an overnight burn. But what they do is they get this load of wood, like I have here, they shut it down, they think it's going to run all night without having any coal bed built up in it. The way to really do it, build a coal bed, then load it full of wood, and what you're going to have is when you wake up in the morning, there's still going to be coals in the bottom of the stove. You can put some fresh wood in there, get the thing going again, and everybody's happy. So, but it comes down to be able to form that coal bed in the stove. And man, look at this. Look how well this next-gen stove is running. right? Beautiful fire, bright fire. The glass is nice and clean, and everything just looks great. And it's really hot standing in front of the stove. All right, here we are in front of the new large flushwood insert. This is the next gen insert. And we've actually been burning a fire in this all day. And what I wanted to show you guys was how to refresh a fire, how to restart a fire. And so there's a little bit left in here. I hope there's enough. We've got a few coals left in here. And this scenario is basically, once you've done an overnight burn, how do you restart the stove? So we've got our bypass. We're going to open the bypass. It's actually still quite warm, so that tells me that there is some good heat still in the stove. We're going to open up our fresh air, so our air intake. And notice the glass is still really clean. This has been running all day, bypass closed, air closed. Glass is still really nice and clean. We're going to open this up, right? And there's still, oh yeah, there's some good heat in there. So I've got some kindling that I've split. So we're basically just going to put this right on top of where those coals are. And one thing that I like to do is I like to make sure, like right here in the front, this is where my fresh air is coming in. So if you make sure that that's clear, you're going to get a better start to your fire because it's going to be able to breathe a little bit easier. So put some wood in here, nice little crisscross pattern so we have some good air. And then close it. Again, my air's open, bypass is open, and let's see what happens. Let's see if there's some magic in here and we get this going again. I believe it's going to start. All right, so here we go. So we started with the kindling fire. We let the kindling fire get started. Then we added some medium-sized pieces and then some large pieces. You got to open the bypass, open the air control, and then just sort of slowly build it back up, and you can get a fire going. And again, the same thing on this stove as on the Liberty we talked about just a few minutes ago. This first load of wood is going to do two things for you. One is we're going to establish a coal bed, and two, sometimes the glass is going to get some buildup on it. And so if you have the air control open with a good hot fire, it'll actually self-clean the glass. And so even if there's some heavier buildup on there, what it'll do is it'll turn it to a white ash. You can just brush it off, but it should almost clean itself without even touching it. So first fire that goes in the morning, let that totally burn down, create a coal bed, then add some more wood into it, and then you can strut it back down again. But it is about establishing that coal bed, whether it's an insert or a stove or even a fireplace. So large flush, new next-gen stove, beautiful fire in it, great glass, wonderful big opening, beautiful insert. And that's how you get a fire going. All right, so here we are in front of the 42 Apex clean face fireplace. This fireplace uses a catalytic filter like the one that's in my hand. What this does is this reburns the exhaust before it goes out of the chimney, which creates that clean burn that we've come to love and expect from our FPX fireplaces. So this technology, this catalytic technology, can be found in our 42 Apexes, our 36 Elite, and our 44 Elite. And this combustor sits right above the baffle. And the way that this combustor gets engaged is by closing the bypass and making the exhaust go around the baffle, through the catalytic combustor, and then up the chimney. Now, one thing to remember on this, all of our catalytic combustor units, so the fireplaces, and then remember the Rockport as well as the Cape Cod, which still uses the hybrid technology with that catalytic combustor, all have a bypass, and they have a temperature gauge. What the temperature gauge does is it lets you know what the temperature is on the back side of that catalytic combustor. The key number, all you have to remember, is 500 degrees. 500 degrees is when you close this. This fireplace is running at about 1,000 degrees. I think the last time I checked it was right around 980. So obviously we're above 500, so I can close my bypass, which is really hot, by the way, because this fire's been running for a while. So close the bypass. Now the smoke has to come around the baffle, through the catalytic combustor, and out the chimney in order for it to be engaged. So that's really the key. You don't want to have cold flue gases going through your combustor. So that's bad, because what that means is that you're going to now get buildup inside that combustor, which is eventually going to clog and the stove's not going to work properly. And so the key question that we get about the fireplaces is customers say, my fireplace isn't getting hot enough. what we find is that most people are sort of afraid to run their stove and actually get it hot. So on this one, we've got a nice load of wood in here. It's hot, right? It's over, it's right around 1,000 degrees. Combustor's now engaged, bypass is closed. And if we were to look at the flue and actually see what kind of the smoke is coming out of the top, it would just be clear with just the heat vapors. So burning efficiently, burning great, and really hot standing right here in front of it. So this is sort of how a catalytic appliance works. Again, key number 500 degrees, and you'll be set and everything will be great.